am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the Moon, Dark Matter, the Void, the Black Hole, Hathor, Isis, Diana, Mommy Ishtar, Kali, Mammy, and Mother Mary. Hello, welcome to Great Mother Speaks. I'm Tammy Taylor, your manifestation muse, and today,
you know, when you're learning an entirely different culture and you don't speak the language, there's a surrender to knowing there's a limitation to how much you're going to actually be able to absorb. Because the nature of learning and the authenticity of integrating the information is compromised. And so as a result, you just make a truce with yourself that I'm going to get out of this what I need to get out of this. And that is the truth that I've made with myself with Vedic astrology. And so I say that because it's timely with this Pisces full moon in Shatabisha Nakshatra. I always remember Shatabisha Nakshatra because Nakshatra, see, there we go. It's different culture, different language, and, you know, struggling to pronounce and everything. But Spirit always gives us what we need. And what I need is to remember the essential elemental truth of these constellations. There are 27 of them. Shatabisha is at the end of Aquarius and the beginning of Pisces. And so we're in a Pisces full moon in both the Western and the Vedic. But it's important in the Vedic to look at the nakshatras, particularly when we are talking about the moon. It's a lunar astrology, and these are lunar-based constellations. I always remember Shatabisha because when I first heard it, it sounded to me like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, those of you who are raised in the Baptist tradition like I was, you might recall who they are. They were the three wise brothers who would not bow down to the king of Babylon. And they were rewarded as a result. This is a great planetary fear at this time, to stand in one's truth of their divinity. And this nakshatra is such a powerful one because it speaks to the reward for doing so. And if you recall, you know, they ended up being really high respected officials of Babylon because their God was leading them through all the trials and tribulations of not bowing down to this king. And everybody was like, what? He's going to kill you. He threw them into a fiery furnace. You know, he didn't just throw them in jail, or he didn't just, have a death sentence where they were killed in some, way, that everybody could watch and be, even put on a cross like Jesus Christ. He threw them in a furnace, and Jesus came and walked them out. And so, all of this, we understand as mythology because we are so deep into what Great Mother says is and in translation from the Vedas too, is called, the sea of forgetfulness. It is not a judgment or condemnation. We came into this world for a reason. We are under the veil of forgetfulness for a reason. Forgetfulness of what? Of our divinity, in order for us to learn how to use our power. As a good parent, you give your child, a little leash, a little bit at a time as they demonstrate their ability to maintain their lives. As long as they're safe, well, then we can loosen up a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And that's how we grow. It's the same thing with us, as above, so below. So this nakshatra is all about feeling that power. And we're in an age where we're being so blessed with so many powerful downloads that if you are not in tune with your divinity, it's freaking people out. And so they're using it in different ways. For example, we were talking about an MDT support group about how all of the mass murders and things that are going on, it's really about a confusion that people are having internally. It has nothing to do with the external world. That's our first impulse, is to externalize everything that's happening. Oh, it's because of this, it's because of politics, it's because of that. No, 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 no. All war begins within. And the inner war is, as Great Mother, through the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck, guides us through a rebirth and a regeneration of our divinity, through the release of MDT identity, the shame, blame, and guilt of the abandonment and abuse of our birth mothers. We have to, as individuals, undergo this internal rebirth. And what is rebirth? Rebirth is a death of the old self. And so just like everything else, instead of sitting with that, we go into addiction, which is just another word for pain avoidance. We go into drug addiction, sex addiction, or just addiction to trying to control others, which the ultimate expression of that is murderous behavior, whether it is through the spoken word or through action, which we can also use as a very powerful, loving tool, action and the spoken word, to uplift and to encourage through the signs and symbols, just as the signs and symbols through this Vedic astrology, whether I understand Hindu or I understand Sanskrit or not, Spirit is going to give me what it needs to give me in order to use me as a vehicle to speak to whoever needs to hear what it's saying. For those who do want to go through this rebirthing process and going through the fire, as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did, they had to prove to themselves that they were worthy to rule Babylon. They were just humble believers in God. And that's what is meant by the meek shall inherit the earth. The humility goes through an experience of gaining the wisdom of knowing that it has a value to the world. And that's what this transition from the Piscean age of the Christ consciousness into the Aquarian age, which is about embodying the Christ consciousness as individuals. We live Christ consciousness as individuals. We live what he taught as individuals. In other words, we dance to the beat of our own drum, just like he did. He just showed us an example of how he did it, how he embraced his divinity and believed in his God, despite the what they call them, the Sadducees, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were against him. The high priests were against him and his teaching of the great Father. And so we are coming into that, and Great Mother, Father God are injecting us and the planet with the power to do it. But if we don't know what we're being injected with, we are interpreting it as fear because we are so filled with fear due to this sea of forgetfulness that we're in, that has got us in this addiction to external manifestation of Great Mother, Father God, as opposed to the internal. So this is all about us connecting with that during this season. The full moon is in Pisces in both the Western and in the Vedic astrology. And as we know, Pisces is the teetering, tottering slope that we walk between delusion and enlightenment, between self-deception and self-awareness. The Leo new moon, Great Mother, did an extended introduction about what this season leading up to January 2020 is all about. So if you want to check that out, there is a link in the information box below. This full moon, Great Mother wants to bring our attention to the Vedic aspect of this season with this full moon in Pisces, in the Vedic and in the Western. Now, what's interesting is that in the Vedic astrology, Neptune, as opposed to in the Western astrology, being in Pisces at this time, creating a great deal of delusionment and difficulty with that dance, with awareness. In the soul astrology, are the cosmic astrology as opposed to the geocentric, earth-centric ego astrology that is basically the tropical astrology that's focused on our egoic experience, our ego reaction to life. In the soul astrology, we're actually looking at how, why, when, and for what purpose the soul incarnated. Neptune here is in Aquarius, and so this period of time has to do with what the collective consciousness is undergoing in terms of its internal dance between illusion and awareness around humanity, around what it wants to collectively contribute on a soul level to this transitional phase between the Piscean age and the Aquarian age. This is why this particular period is so intense. So what Great Mother wants to focus on in this introduction to your full moon Pisces reading is the idea that you, from a soul perspective, are looking toward the future at this particular time, or you're looking in the past at this particular time, at yourself, at your experience at this particular time. And you're either saying, wow, I am really living up to my greatest soul potential at this time to free myself from the bondage, from the attachment to forgetfulness of my divinity, forgetfulness of my soul essence, forgetfulness of my birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. I am releasing myself from that forgetfulness. I'm doing my level best as a conscious being to do that. Or I am overwhelmed by the challenges of doing that. And either way, Great Mother is inviting us to receive the eternal grace and mercy that is available to us, particularly as the planet is experiencing the disorder of mama drama trauma, which this channel focuses on to heal. Mama drama trauma being that condition in which the mother projects unhealed aspects of herself onto the child, causing emotional and or physical trauma. And in cases where she's unwilling, unable, and unavailable, she may have transitioned to heal her own MDT. Loving detachment is necessary for the child to live a happy, healthy, and whole life. In other words, for us to fully embrace our birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. Living in loving detachment is necessary to do that. So the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck was channeled for us to have a daily practice of releasing ourselves from that bondage of attachment to the toxic mama experience, the forgetfulness that the drama engenders about our divinity, and the trauma that we experience as a result, the dissociative experience from our soul that keeps us in bondage. So the opportunity this full moon is to, from the tropical perspective, look at the harvest of the year. This has been a very intense year with Saturn and Jupiter in retrograde and the eclipses that we've had in the most powerful in Vedic astrology nodal position of Gemini in the North Node and Sagittarius in the South, because it has to do with that human intelligence of the ego in the North Node evolving through awareness and the release of old attachments to old ways of connecting with the divinity, with that Sagittarius in the South, based on experience. Wisdom is based on experience, what we learn through our own experience, as opposed to the intelligence of Mercury, which rules Gemini, that is based on an ability, an ego ability to figure things out. And so they work well together when understood. But when wisdom is held as the greater virtue, then we actually are evolving. We actually are growing. And so with Sagittarius being in the South Node, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Pluto, we have this opportunity to do a tremendous amount of release of old spiritual beliefs and practices that no longer work for us, such as toxic beliefs about sin, the idea that we are separate from God. That is a very old religious teaching. And it no longer serves us as we move into an Aquarian age that is about being very clear about our divinity. Now, speaking of clarity about divinity, not everyone survives deity initiation. And that is what we're talking about. Let us be clear. We are talking about divinity initiation, an initiation into a conscious ego-soul alignment. So this full moon is an illumination with regard to where you are with that. Great Mother wants you to be very clear about where you are in relationship to that, in relationship to your soul and what your soul wants to do at this particular time about that in your life as it relates to mama drama trauma, the foundation of all relationships in your life. In our relationships, just like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, who is the poster child of mama drama trauma, each card is based on a scene in the Wizard of Oz. Along that yellow brick road journey, that hero's journey to embracing our divinity, that journey, that rites of passage to deity initiation. Because, of course, when we return home, we return to peace. We return to our true self. So this return to self requires a rebirth. It requires this dark night of the soul, which for us, being mama drama trauma, most of the planet, most people won't admit it. It is a taboo subject. But during the Aquarian age, it will become more and more prominent as an issue to be addressed. There's a reason there's an increase in suicides. There's a reason there's an increase in drug addiction. All of these are just forms of pain avoidance. And this is what is meant by not everyone survives deity initiation. Many people do not believe because they do not know that they're divine beings. They think because of the attachment to forgetfulness, attachment to the illusion of this experience, and we incarnate into this material experience in order to have the veil over our eyes, as Dorothy had the veil, the believing that Oz was the god of all gods, until she took the witch's broom, which taught her that she had the power to take her power back from an idea of an externalized God. Great Mother, Father, God is us, within us. And this is a scary thought for a culture from a planetary collective consciousness that believes it's separate from God. That's a scary thought, let alone something to integrate into one's consciousness. So we are what the Christ called a peculiar people. We know that we are in this world, but we are not of it. And so this is a little spoken word that is payment and homage to what Great Mother is inviting us to do in terms of looking at this placement of where we are. Consciousness ascends and consciousness, it forgets. We evolve. The Kundalini awakens and the Kundalini goes to sleep. We are living, breathing beings who we have periods of active conscious awareness and growth and periods of rest and foulness, just like the soil. So that's why we learn first and foremost about our divinity identity, that we are dearly loved children of the great Mother, Father, God, who are never judged, condemned for that. Because just like the seasons, that's just like saying, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're, slowly moving into fall, although the planet is heating up and is on fire and all of these things that are happening because of our forgetfulness. There's no judgment or condemnation. There is awareness. There's a difference. And it's a very important distinction to make. There is awareness that what we're doing is either fortifying the experience of our divinity or it is detracting from it. And we get to make the free will choice. Some say, and particularly in Vedic astrology, that we do not have free will. But it is said within the context, I would hope, I understand the belief of no free will within the context of we are given the choice in our experience. We get to experience making choices so that we know if we choose to go into the direction of what does not reinforce our divinity, such as burning down the rainforest and therefore setting our entire environmental equilibrium off, is not beneficial. We get to experience that so that we learn it. Again, wisdom being the hallmark of divinity. We learn through experience, which is why we're not judged or condemned. It doesn't make sense to believe in a God that judges and condemns you for coming here to have experience. How can you have experience if you don't get to choose? So in this life, we do get to choose. It's just that in the arc of eternity, there is just one consciousness, and that is the consciousness of love. And that is what they're talking about. And since it's difficult for most people to even grasp what is being discussed here, they just go ahead and jump to the end of the story that there is no free will. It's all, love. But step by step, yes, within lifetimes, that's how we gain experience. That's how we gain wisdom about what love is. We have to learn it through experience. Great Mother's inviting us to recognize at this particular stage in our lives with this Pisces full moon in both the Western and in the Vedic, what we are choosing. Are we choosing to go away from our divinity, feeling and experiencing being dearly loved, never judged or condemned, or left alone? Or are we continuing to engender those experiences, such as mama drama trauma, in particular here with your full moon reading, that you are detracting from that experience? Which one is it? Because within this season, there are a lot of transits that are being discussed. And one specifically with the Vedic, just like Great Mother in her extended introduction, with the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in the Western astrology that has captured the imagination of astrologers. In the Vedic astrology, we are having the Gemini move from Purnavasu into Ardra Nakshatra. And we're having Sagittarius move into Mula, which is the center of the cosmos. It's the nakshatra that is the center. It's the heart, the cosmic heart of the cosmos. It is Great Mother. It is the primordial womb. And so the primordial womb is going to receive for us what we are willing, ready, and able to release. And so that's why Great Mother is wanting us to know at this particular time, those of us who are working with releasing mama drama trauma, the blame, shame, and guilt, feeling the cause, feeling that we can cure, feeling that somehow we can control mama drama trauma, and releasing all of that dysfunction is going to be tremendously supported, especially as we have in November Jupiter moving into Sagittarius as well. So lots and lots of cosmic support for us. The spoken word that I would like to share with you is this: child, mother, father, teacher, parent, scholar, a pence, a pound, a dollar, a month, a day, an hour. Years, decades, scores. Work, hobbies, chores. A house, a window, a door. Beginning, middle, end. Whole, half, empty. Physiology, biology, anatomy. Plant, seed, soil. Sun, rain, earth. The planetary galactic search. Olmec, Toltec, Aztec, Cholula, Pyramid, Sphinx. Ego, soul, spirit, the initiation, communication, conduit. Maya 2012, the whole world, into it. Crazy, sane, normal, casual, everyday, formal. The known, unknown, and unknowable. Mystery, intrigue, certainty. Past, present, future. Galaxy, planet, light year. Stellar procession, sacred. Man, woman, offspring. Bound, insecure, free. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Night, noon, morning. Sacred, science, faith. Time, space, location. You are blessed, wanted, needed. Breathe, inspire, intention, purpose, reason. Cave, hut, house. Master, worker, slave. Moon, stars, sun. 3, 2, 1. Eternal divine self. Present, future, past. First, late, last. Dawn, day, sunset. And these are your Pisces. Shatabisha full moon readings. Aries moon sign people, you are dealing with 12th house energy here. So there's a huge release of energy around your shadow self. In your recent past, or maybe over the last 2 years, since the eclipse the world stopped to watch, August 2017, your shadow has been emerging, that part of you full of MDT, shame, blame, and guilt. Becoming aware of how it's operating in your life, how it's controlling your life, how it's making your life miserable, and how you are actively shifting your perspective to embrace your divinity identity is what this 12th house energy is perhaps bringing up for you. It's very subtle, but in your shadow position is Mayat. And so drawing your attention immediately to what Great Mother is pointing at for you in your life at this time are 2 third eye cards, Inanna and Mayat. Inanna in the position of the past, your shadow self, all this coming up, crescent moon energy is about seed planting. And so planting the seed of your awareness of your MDT shadows is what you're coming out of in the past. But in your shadow position is the third eye card of Mayat, the scales being balanced by the goddess with a feather and the heart. So the feather on one side weighing the integrity of the heart. In the middle is that third eye to see the truth. In this first quarter moon, you are dealing with the shadow of justice, making a decision to face the reality that what you have thought up to this point, or what you have intuited, as this is third eye energy, up to this point has only revealed half of the story, because you planted the seed and now it's starting to show sprouts with this first quarter moon. You still are only seeing half of the story, because a sprout is not a limb, it's a stem. In other words, in your shadow position, is an awareness that the full awareness hasn't arrived yet. That's the subtlety of 12th house energy that you're dealing with. Because the present condition is integrity. This is heart chakra energy here in the middle of this third eye. And so if you're actually energetically sensing this third eye between the brow and the heart directly underneath it, there is this download, 12th house energy again with this balsamic heart chakra moon of eternal grace and mercy in this process. There's not a need to know everything now on a conscious level. This is all heart above chakra energy. This is ephemeral energy. This is energy that changes the world. And the most important world is your inner world, your internal space. So this is your present condition, is telling yourself the truth about your limitations of what you know and what you don't know to be true. Integrity is telling yourself the truth. It's not just telling the truth. It's telling yourself the truth about where you are in your life right now with regard to delusionment and awareness. There is a difference between judgment and condemnation and awareness. That's why when we talk about our divinity identity, we speak in terms of being a dearly loved child, a dearly loved divine child of the great Mother, Father, God, who's never judged, condemned, or left alone. No, we're not judged or condemned. We are consistently presented with opportunities to grow in awareness. What is your awareness at this present time, Aries moon sign people? It seems to be in your present position of Lilith, a sense of personal power. Now, gut chakra energy is ruled by Mars, which rules Aries. So this is a very true sense. This is heart below chakra energy. And so that we feel that. And so you are feeling a sense of gratitude. Okay, we have waning gibbous energy, thankfulness, even a sharing of your personal power with others, using your personal power on the behalf or the benefit of others is something that you're increasingly becoming aware of. There may be a kind of a teetering with regard to your intuition. And depending on your personal cosmic calculus and the placement of your 12th house and its aspects, we could look at some specific things that Great Mother is saying to you. But in general, your collective consciousness is one of awareness of your personal power, of your birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole specifically. What you are expecting as a result of this is that this activation of your birthright through the law of Divine Mother is you acting on your intuition that you do know. Okay, so there's one thing to be aware of the fact that, yes, I am having intuitive downloads, but I feel that they're not complete. I feel that there is a whole big part of the story I don't know yet. Join the club. All of us are in this process for at least another 6 months to a year, every single being on the planet, because there's such a new transitional phase that is going on here. We're all being reformed. And for you, this has to do with acting on your birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. This is, again, gut chakra energy with regard to the law of Divine Mother, acting on this intuition. These are two yang symbol, the double yang card, acting on what you know to be your birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole is in the position of your present expectations here. And so it's not about knowing everything, which isn't a real big issue for Aries moon sign people, but because this full moon is in your 12th house, there may be a feeling, there may be a niggling sense that you need to know more. It's not so much about you needing to know more, but it's about you acknowledging through your own integrity that there is more to the story than you know. And that's okay. Because the dance right now we see with Isis here is self-mothering. That's what the priority is for you, Aries moon sign people, in this transitionary phase. It's the dance of taking care of yourself, of being self-nurturing, of being self-understanding, self-compassionate, self-forgiving. That's what the priority is for you at this time. That's what the most important intuitive download is for you at this time. So if that is partial to you knowing why you need to self-mother, all you need to do is remember that the soul contract of Mama Drama Trauma is to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. You may feel that you already have a strong sense of self-love. And so why do I need to self-mother? It is because the dance between what you know to be true intuitively and what you know is only part of the full truth is brought together in a meaningful way by you mothering yourself, by you saying it's not a deficit if I fill myself up with love. I don't have to focus on what I don't know. All I need to act on is what I do know to be my birthright, to be happy, healthy, and whole. And that starts with self-care. That starts with self-love. Because your hidden influences in the situation is the pleasure principle. This is new moon energy. New moon is the moon hidden, really. We don't see it, right? And so the moon, when it's joined with the sun, and now the sun is in Leo, that's your fifth house energy. It's a very creative energy. And so you may be feeling that part of your release is sharing your creative abilities, is sharing your creative capacities, is certainly following your bliss at this time. And the reason self-love and self-mothering is so important is in the center of your spread is Sekhmet, rage. That is what is expected. You are expecting there to be some fallout as a result of following your bliss or sharing your personal power, or perhaps not being appreciated, or you not appreciating your own intuition, which is saying that it's time for you to care for yourself. And so this is the space where Mayat in the shadow position, looking at justice, balancing that feather of truth with your heart, telling yourself the truth and finding that balance. Rage is suppressed anger. And so there may be an expectation of external validation. Again, that sea of forgetfulness, that bondage to the externalized validation of who and what you are, when what you are being offered at this particular time is an opportunity to see things as they are and to powerfully act on your birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole, despite what things may appear. In other words, it may appear that you are unloved. It may feel like you're being judged, condemned, or that you are lonely. But through the practice of divinity identity, realizing that, hey, I'm upset about this because I'm thinking that this situation has the power to determine whether or not I'm loved, that this situation has the power to condemn or judge me, that this person has the power to make me feel alone. This is wrong thought. It is thought that is about MDT, shame, blame, and guilt. It is a conditioned thought. It is a toxic thought that we have been taught, but that does not make it right. The righteousness comes in embodying and activating the divinity identity, which you're expecting to create feelings of rage and anger in you, because it's probably an invitation for you to go deeper into areas of rage that you haven't looked at. You have 3 root chakra cards here, and you have 3 gut chakra cards here as well. So there's equal balance between feelings of ungroundedness that need to be addressed through self-mothering, looking at issues of rage, as well as acknowledging your soul contract. This is in your let go position. Acknowledge. Acknowledging the soul contract to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence is going to it's not necessarily letting go of that contract. It's letting go of any and everything that is preventing you from accepting the MDT soul contract to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. And so the rage is keeping you from accepting your MDT soul contract. However, it is a part of the process. We have to walk through the fire of rage to get on the other side of acknowledgement, which is about self-inquiry. Aspire, acknowledge self-inquiry, process and integrity, rebirth, emancipation, the 6 suits of the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck, which is the grieving process of MDT, shame, blame, and guilt. So the first step of acknowledgement in its waxing gibbous moon phase has rage in it. That is a phase. You know, that's a phase. We go through that phase. And right now, that is a phase that you're going through, but you're going through it because you're pursuing your pleasure. You're trying to get to the other side, which is second chakra. High Tower is a second chakra new moon card. You're trying to get to that part of following your bliss through your birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole, which is gut chakra energy. So actually you have 4 gut chakra cards, including the Law of Divine Mother, and 4 root chakra cards, including the Law of Mystery and Divine Order here in the lower right-hand corner. So the advice is engage your conscious awareness in the practice of self-inquiry. Instead of allowing situations or people to have the power to make you feel, quote unquote, unloved, judged, condemned, or left alone, ask yourself, is it true that this person or this situation has the power to make me feel whether or not I'm loved? Does the sun rise and fall on them in my life? Ask yourself that, and really, and then if it's true, why? That's what telling ourselves the truth is all about. Okay, so yes, the sun rises and falls on whether or not my mother loves me. Why is that? Well, because she's my mother. Well, okay, why are you allowing for her to determine whether or not you experience love in your life? Because she's my mother. What does that mean? What does someone being your mother mean? Well, it means that they love me. Okay, so if she is incapable of loving you because she's incapable of loving herself due to her own MDT, is that really mothering you? And so the practice of self-inquiry is asking ourselves, is it true? And that's the advice for this full moon, is to engage in the practice of self-inquiry. That is your ticket to following your bliss. It is making the decision to be happy as opposed to upholding toxic habits. These are very cute little memes that we like to read and we like and we like to see. But the advice is to engage in the practice of using them in your life. Because in the immediate future, there is a death and rebirth that is occurring. I'm seeing here a waxing gibbous moon right next to the root chakra waxing gibbet of Sekhmet. The Osiris Horus card, 5th chakra energy, is speaking your truth. It's living according to your higher will. It is the death and rebirth card. Of course, Osiris died and was reborn in the form of his son Horus, which is what we base ours, the word auras in the Sanskrit, on, which is a very powerful predictive mechanism of how we live our lives. In fact, the days, the tethys and the ors and the days, Monday being the moon day, which is when I'm doing these readings, and Tuesday being Mars, and the hours within these days being a process of death and rebirth. This is your immediate future. Your immediate future is that you are dying to this MDT, shame, blame, and guilt, insofar as you have been able to embrace its shadows. So if you've embraced the shadows on a surface level, that is kind of like, well, yeah, I kind of relate to MDT, and yeah, I can kind of see that, and just kind of do a kind of mental masturbation with it. Well, then that is the level of release that is coming up in the immediate future. It's kind of going to move from a mental masturbation to an actual emotional state of looking at how shame, blame, and guilt really shows up in your life. If you've been doing deep internal work with regard to MDT, shame, blame, and guilt release, then you are in a full-fledged state of actually facing your rage, your suppressed anger around it. And the death and rebirth opportunity for you is going to be a huge release of a lot of rage that is going to free you up energetically, because you have done the work to go through that dark night and get to the other side of the second chakra, which is all about the bliss and your personal desires. But before we can get to our personal desires, we have to deal with the flames that unground us. We have to put out the fire. It's not going to be a lot of bliss walking on coals, so you will, those coals will cool down, and you'll begin to walk on the cool earth again. So in embodying this on whatever end of the continuum that you are, congratulations for doing this very arduous, excruciating work, because the gut chakra is telling us here with Demeter that you are embodying your yellow brick road. This is when the yellow brick road emerges, when Dorothy, the poster child of Mama Drama Trauma, is in Munchkin Land. And the yellow brick road emerges as she puts on the ruby red slippers, which symbolizes our birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. So by embodying your birthright and your personal power, Aries moon sign people, you are stepping upon your yellow brick road of healing, regardless of where you are. Particularly this full moon, as you begin to self-inquire as opposed to self-criticize. This acceptance of your feelings, this integrity, this full moon Martian energy that we see in the Demeter card is what you are embodying at this time, and what you will embody even more through this full moon energy illumination of your feelings as you delve deeper and deeper into them, as you release more and more suppressed feelings of shame, blame, and guilt, and call it what it is, and really hold it up to this light that is so powerful for you. This Martian energy, which rules Aries. Now, the possible outcome as a result of doing this is the Hecate card. It's very possible that the higher will of fifth chakra, crescent moon energy, of you standing at this crossroads of embracing your personal power, going deeper in terms of accepting your feelings, your true feelings, telling yourself the truth, and standing up to that with regard to your birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. And then on the other side, still really dealing with the shadow. The possible outcome is going to be that you will be supported in your higher intent. Remember, Great Mother always supports our intuitive intent because it comes from her. It's just that we have the free will based on our emotional reaction whether or not to follow it. Now, the rub is our emotional reaction is our feeling and our thoughts about our feelings. That's what emotions are, our thoughts about how we feel. So the power is in being able to take charge of what we think about our feelings. When we take charge of what we think about our feelings, we can question the validity of any and everything, including your mama. That's true power. That's being a divine child. When we determine what is valid in our lives and what is not based on knowing who we are. I am a divine child, the great mother, father, God, who's never judged, condemned, or left alone. Now, what is the scene in The Wizard of Oz of Hecate? This is when the Wicked Witch attempts to take those ruby red slippers off of Dorothy's shoes in her castle and gets shocked. That's a very possible outcome. Again, you will be supported in your free will choosing of shifting your thoughts despite the rage, despite the anger, despite the superficiality or the mental masturbation, wherever you are, deep work, to trust it, to stand in that integrity that you are a divine child who has a birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole, though that will not be taken away from you. But if the thought is allowed by you as a divine child to take over that you are not worthy, then that's a different story. But the possible outcome is that you will be protected if you allow yourself to be. And that has to be a conscious choice. The long-term future is this Martian energy of Moses. First quarter moon energy is about having the courage to face the challenge. And the challenge is learning to live the law. The law of divinity is what we're talking about. This is the scene when the mayor of Munchkinland praises Dorothy for having destroyed the Wicked Witch of the East. When the house falls on her from the Twister dream and she lands in Munchkinland, they are ecstatic that she has killed this witch that has been taunting and haunting them. But she's not getting it at that time. You know, she's like, I'm Dorothy from Kansas. I've killed somebody and y'all happy. You know, what's going on here? I want to go home. So in the long-term future, again, it takes a while for us to reprogram ourselves. You know, Dorothy from Kansas. Okay, so what does that have to do with anything in Munchkinland? We hear now, you killed this woman who has been taunting us, who also symbolizes on a deeper level for you, your drama mama. But she couldn't accept it at that time. So she had to go on her own conscious journey, which is what we all have to do, and which is what you will in the long-term future continue to do, is go on your own term journey in which your drama mama is revealed to you as the Wicked Witch was taunting Dorothy and the three along the yellow brick road, throwing fireballs at them and creating poppy fields and all of that, to where Dorothy just finally doused her in the castle after she was trying to take her shoes. Okay, you know, the birthright, that's where I draw the line. Okay, and so you're going to be drawing a line in the sand, Aries moon sign people, if you have not already. Many of you have already, which is why your outcome card is the law of mystery and divine order, spirituality and self-love. That is the contract. That's the soul contract of MDT. We experience MDT in order to what? Evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. So that is your outcome as a result of doing this work. This full moon is the third quarter moon energy of letting go of that MDT, shame, blame, and guilt. Root chakra card, yang energy. This is the arrow. That is the semen that enters the physical realm to create the life that we are. And that is the mystery of divine order. There is a life beyond MDT, and you are at the threshold of that, Aries moon sign people. Good work. Continue to do your work. You have a great deal of power to do this work in shifting how you are thinking about your emotions. This is not only benefiting you, but it is also benefiting others in your life. When you are feeling unloved, condemned, judged, and lonely, remember to question the validity of the person or the situation that is quote unquote making you feel that way, so that you can further embrace your shadow self, telling yourself the truth about your birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you have a blessed full moon season. And above all, remember, Great Mother loves you. And I do too.
Great Mother speaks. I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb.